You had also in the early to mid '60s the MK Ultra, the CIA psychedelic use of psychedelic
Yep.
drugs.
You had the Vietnam
That
War.
that's a true thing. That's a true thing,
Yeah.
right? You had the Vietnam War going on that people are already distrusting of. The American people's already distrusting.
Watergate.
We're putting people out there. Watergate,
Yep.
Martin Luther King assassination, RFK's assassination. You had again Watergate was the early '70s, so
Yep.
all of these things line up in a very very specific order.
I think that was the
So
beginning of the change from, well, if it's on the news, it must be true, or if the government said it, it must be true, to I don't trust
wait
you
a
anymore.
minute.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
broke
wait
that
a
trust. I
minute.
don't believe anything you say anymore.
Hello, rabbits. Welcome to episode 5, season 2 of Rabbit Hole Roulette. The show where my partner and I spin a wheel, try to pick the topic, and give you some dialogue on something that just probably should make you go, wait, what just happened? That's our hope anyway. With that, I am Tonio alongside Matty P over there. Surprisingly not eating a banana already. But again, we want to thank you for staying with us. We for everybody's, I guess, information, so that you do know we are obviously on YouTube. Please give us a like, a share, a subscribe, a follow, whatever it may be. But we're also on some social media. You can find us on Facebook with the same name, and just entered into Spotify, the Spotify world. So if you're just audio fan only, which we're new and got some humble beginnings over there. Give us a listen, give us a like or a share. I'm not exactly sure how the Spotify thing works, but you'll find our audios over there as well moving forward. That said, Matty P, you want to discuss a fun fact? Any fun facts for us? Any current events, world event?
Yeah. So apparently, now I forget. I want to say it was over in Europe, but allegedly they have cured the first human of HIV with a specialized bone marrow transplant. Allegedly.
Did did Magic Johnson do that?
Oh, probably. He's the only person I've ever known to live longer and get bigger with HIV.
Him and Charlie Sheen? But yeah, okay. Europe's doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe it was in Europe. I can't remember now exactly where it was. I saw it last night at like midnight on Facebook, but apparently they are. I also don't know how true it is, but it is a fun fact. If it is happening, that is a fun fact. Although that's also
I
something
feel like
I feel
South
like
Park.
they've had a cure for that for a very long time, and they just don't want it out.
Well, the sad news is, or the good news, depending on how you look at it, South Park already kind of gave away the spoilers to that on the cure for HIV.
Yeah, you just need
Technically,
like 500 grand
I think they just and they
or
blended
a
it in a
hundred grand.
blender and then
Yeah,
shot it up or something,
liquid
whatever it was.
money.
Something
He
stupid.
blended like 100 grand up in a blender and turned it liquid. It was funny because then they went to Africa and they're like, "Good news,
Um,
everybody! We found the cure for HIV. You just need $100,000 to put in a
mm,
blender."
it's a good episode.
Yeah, it was.
It's a
Oof,
very
yeah,
controversial episode.
it was back in the early days of South Park when it was
Yeah.
real rough.
So I'm gonna give you another morbid. So speaking of terrible things, I'm the king of terrible
Oh yeah,
stuff right now. Um, my current event. Did you see the video of the giant orca ramming the sunfish and exploding it?
no, but that's awesome.
So there's a video out there where I guess some camera was underwater watching a sunfish, or maybe they're watching the orca. I don't know. But then the orca decided to just ram damn near full speed this sunfish, and it didn't like kill it and it went limp. Like it just
Exploded.
exploded. The sunfish. Yeah, it straight
Oh,
shattered.
they're pretty large.
Yeah, it's a
Almost
fascinating
looks like a
video. Are you watching
shark.
the video?
No, I'm just looking at pictures of sunfish. Oh,
Yeah. Well, anyway, the video is wild. It just breaks into like a billion pieces, and it's like, oh, that was a thing at one point. It is no longer a thing.
yep.
Yeah, orcas don't play, man. So this orca just rammed this sunfish, and the video is astounding. Again, like I said, just exploded into a billion pieces, and you
Yeah,
can't
that's
even tell it
wild.
was a
I
fish.
mean, they are
It's pretty
massive.
fascinating.
Like I'm looking at them here on the old interweb, and they are quite large. Like they are
You,
way bigger than I thought.
you know what else is large? orcas.
Yes, they are also large. They are whales. They are massive.
He literally kicked it into ramming speed, Mr. Jones, and it's my worst Star Trek impression ever.
Yeah, make it so, number one.
All right, so that's my little my deal for you.
Well, my current event's also a little bit on the depressing side. PBA professional bowler Jacob Buttorf, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. 32 years old. He's won multiple titles in the PBA, has passed away. He is a left-handed bowler, well known for his unique style of bowling. He does not have your traditional one-arm swing bowling. He kind of has a almost like an underhand shot put style of bowling with his left hand, and he kind of does a little shimmy run to the foul line. It's very, very unique to him, not something you see on anybody else. But I guess his mother passed away a few years back from colon cancer that then spread throughout her body. And from what I was reading, it sounded like he at one point had lung cancer and had to have a double lung transplant.
Wait, who is this again?
Jacob Buttorf.
Jacob Buttorf.
Okay. Buttorf, I believe, or ORFF. Young guy, 32 years old. Definitely gone too soon. Definitely was a well-known name and a little bit of a legend in his own right in the PBA, being such a young bowler, but having such a unique style and having won a few major tournaments, on the televised stage. He actually bowled, I think it was the 24th or 25th televised 300 game during a tournament. So,
okay,
he will be remembered.
Wait, is this the guy who did the famous "Who do you think you are? I am."
No, that's Pete Weber. He's still alive.
Oh, I like that video. Is pretty
Yeah.
good.
That was actually a mistake. He has said later on in interviews that's not what he meant to say at all. But because of the
imagine
emotions,
not. Don't make any sense.
What he meant to say was, "Who do you think you are in my house?" Because he's known for winning tournaments, right, since like the 80s. And he, out of pure emotion, just yelled out, "Who do you think you are? I am." And it became arguably one of the most infamous quotes in sports in general, not even just PBA, because people know that quote that have never watched a single televised bowling event. Yeah, you. Anyways, that's my current event. Like I said, sad for him, his family. Sad for the sport of bowling that's struggling in its own right to maintain popularity and relevance. To see such a young, well-known star pass away at such an early age is tough.
So speaking of tough and kind of funny interview-ish, although you said it was Pete Weber that said that,
Yes.
whatever the saying was, did you ever, kind of side noting, did you ever hear or see the interview with Mike Tyson after he beat somebody and the ref or the commentator was talking to him and they said, "Oh, Mike, you pulled something like that," and he goes, "My back is broken."
Yeah, he go, "What do you mean? Is it a disc or no? It's spinal." Yeah, I think he's taking way too many punches to the head. If you want my honest opinion,
it just maybe make it think of that interview. That's all.
Nothing. Kind of like his Netflix fight against Jake Paul, where the camera guy, for whatever reason, decided to show his bare buns on the stream. I was watching it with my wife as it's buffering. Finally stops buffering, and then all of a sudden I'm just seeing Tyson double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon. I'm like, what? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I don't think he meant to say that either. Maybe he did. I don't really know.
I think he was
obviously
delirious.
His back wasn't broke. Yeah. But anyway, all right. Ready to spin this wheel?
Yeah, we'll spin it. I'll spin it. You want me to spin it? I'll spin it.
I hope you spin it because I don't have access.
I'm just here to do what you need me to do. All right, so
I'm just here for a good time, not a long time.
Categories left for season 2. We got the World Hide and Go Seek Championships, Full Moon over Hollywood. Oops, that became iconic. And you know the movie, but not the story. So
there's just 4 things left.
4 things left. We are halfway done with season 2 already,
brother. We're mid season here. Okay,
2. I feel like we should have maybe done more. Maybe season 3 we up it to 10 or 12 topics. Maybe do 5 or
It's a
6
lot of
apiece.
topics.
It is, but I feel like we are burning through these pretty quick.
What's that? Thomas the Tank Engine, or just chug-a-luggin'? Just if you think you can, you think you can. Is that who that is?
Yes.
No, it's not.
Thomas the Train Engine. I think I can.
Is that who
Yeah,
that was?
100%.
That's not Thomas. That's the Little Ones of the Could.
Oh,
You
you're right.
goof. You goof.
Oh, that's the Mandela effect again right there.
Yeah, but here we are
No,
chugging
it was
along,
the movie
right?
with
Halfway through season
Sinbad where
2
he was a genie.
at a birthday party.
Yes.
Shut up.
All right. You
All
ready?
right, let's
3,
do
2, 1,
this.
let's go.
Yep, do it to it.
Oh.
Anything but one of mine.
Full moon over
Called it.
Hollywood. Yes. Yes, I have been wanting to discuss this topic with you since the beginning of season 1. Because what is one of your favorite catchphrases to use at work, Tony? When somebody says something's too complicated, what's your favorite catchphrase?
I have 2 rules. People are liars or people are stupid. One of the 2 rules.
No, the other one.
Oh, God. What do you mean we can't do that? We put a man on the moon, for crying out loud.
That's it. We put a man on the moon, we can do anything. That is one of Tony O's famous phrases at work. So
Supposedly.
this full moon over Hollywood, we are going to talk about the alleged moon landing in 1969.
Oh, alleged. You said alleged. Okay.
Because there is a huge conspiracy theory and group out there that believes the moon landing in 1969 was faked in a Hollywood basement, which is why I call this one Full Moon Over Hollywood. So, first, before we get into any of the evidence that people have discussed over the years, what is your first opinion on the moon landing in 69?
Well, I do not believe that Stanley Kubrick filmed something in somebody's basement. I believe science supports that we are and were there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I am not. I do not sustain, or I do not believe the theory that it was faked.
So let's break down some of the claims as to why people believe it's fake, and I'll see what we can prove, what we can disprove. One of the biggest claims people make when discussing the moon landing back in '69 with Apollo 11, not the one that had Tom Hanks on it.
And not Apollo Creed either.
Not Apollo Creed. They said the waving flag. The flag could not be waving because of the vacuum of space. There would be no way for the flag to be standing outright like it is for the pictures and for the video in the alleged movie. So what is your thought on the claim that the flag could not be moving?
Is it shown waving?
It is shown completely outright and kind of wrinkled in the picture. It does appear like it could be. It has a wave in it. It has a ripple in the flag.
And so, in my mind, again, I'm very science-based.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Neil Tyson deGrasse.
Yeah. Shout out. Love to have you on the show.
What I think is when they were, putting the flagpole into the soil, I don't know how they did that. I don't know if they used a post hole digger. I don't know if they just shoved something sharp and into the soil that went. I don't know how easy it went in, but I can imagine that when that went into the ground, that flag, obviously, I think they pulled it out, and got it to where it needed to be. Mm-hmm. And I think in doing so, it had like a ripple in it and it stayed. So therefore, when you backed from it and they take the famous photograph, or the now famous photograph, it appears that ripple is there because it's waving, but the ripple is always there and doesn't change unless the flag is moved. Okay. That's what I think.
So according to Gemini here, with just a quick Google search, it says that NASA used a horizontal rod to keep the fabric extended. So they built like a frame to keep the flag outright for picture purposes. Now it says the flag only moved, and the reason why it looks like it's moving is when the
Because
astronauts
they
are
touched it?
setting it up and they're twisting the pole to get
Yeah.
it into
So
the
they're touching it.
ground.
So it's vibrating.
That's what
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's the Gemini AI explanation as to
Of
why
course
that
AI is going to tell
happened.
us that.
Yeah, that, and take it for what it is. Um, so and maybe, but if they did the horizontal rod, why does the flag have a ripple in it? Like it does. If you look at the actual images, the flag does appear to have a ripple effect as if it was blowing in the wind. Now you can see in this picture that rod going across the top that they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the rod across the top and the rod down the side that then is into the moon, maybe that ripple you see in the bottom is because of the lack of gravity trying to kind of, because there is no gravity, right, in the moon, or it's like a really weak
Correct.
gravity compared to ours, right? It's not no gravity, it's weak.
So what I
So
think
maybe that's why
is
it's kind of lifting.
when you touch this flag, this free flowing bottom piece of the flag, because and this is where again I'm going to have to go back to like my 9th grade science class or whenever the hell that was. If I touch something with no air resistance, eventually it's going to kind of stay in that same form. It's going to move for a minute or however long, right? Because there's nothing to straighten that back out or um, to what's the term I'm looking for? Nothing to stop it essentially, right? So it's going to allow it to move longer than normal because there's no forces operated on either side of it, right? That's that vacuum. So again, it's airless. There's no movement. So I'm going to hit it. And it's going to kind of dangle, and eventually it's going to work its way out and kind of stay where it's at.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
So another common, and I think you may be right.
Gross.
And
I
the
sneezed.
second point, so there's three that are the most common points that people point out during their "hey, this didn't happen" conspiracy, right? So comment one was the waving flag, which I get. The second is that there are no stars visible. Critics note there's a lack of background stars in lunar photos. So if you're on the moon, there's complete blackness around you. You should be able to see all the stars. Is the thought. What is your thought behind that?
So obviously, do you know the reason why we see stars? So the sun is shining on the side facing obviously the sun, right? And in I believe this scene, the image we see the sun, I believe to be either on the horizon or obviously the sun's not high in the sky.
Sure.
I don't think. So that to me says that because of I don't know I don't know how science defines that.
Yep. So
I would put it to be the sun's behind the
in
moon.
the image, if you're looking at the astronaut, right, and the spaceship behind them, their shadows are coming off this way, meaning the sun is over here. The image from the picture is straight on. So if what you're saying is right, because the sun is not reflecting the stars right in the sky, if they would have turned the camera 45 degrees, 90 degrees, whatever, there may have been more stars, but because of the way they were angled. But according to this, it says that the cameras were adjusted for the bright sunlit lunar surface because the reason we see the moon is because of the sun.
It's so bright.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
it's so bright.
I mean, they're basically standing on a giant rock mirror, right? Which is why we see the moon at night from the sun rays.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So they say the cameras were adjusted for the bright sunlit lunar surface, which drowned out the faint light of the distant stars. So people think, well, you're out in space, there's no city lights, you should be able to see all the stars. Well, they had to adjust the cameras. Otherwise, the brightness from the moon would have just washed out. And these are also images from 1969, not today's, iPhone, whatever, Pro Max that has a 50 megapixel camera on it. I mean, these would have been, the original smartphone or the original flip phones came out with 1.3 megapixel cameras. So these were probably less than a megapixel.
I was just glad to have Snake. The Snake.
Yeah, I loved it. I had an old like Palm Pilot style phone from AT&T back in the day. It had Snake on it. I thought it was the coolest thing.
Little BlackBerry. Yep. Anyway.
Yeah, the BlackBerry Curve. The other thing that people point out is the lighting and the shadows. Some argue the uneven ground shadows imply studio lighting.
Because they're experts in that.
Yeah, with the response to that is uneven terrain and reflected light from the reflective lunar dust naturally cause these variations. Proof of the moon landings to dispute these. Astronauts brought back 382 kilograms of moon rock that lack water and show heavy cosmic radiation exposure impossible to replicate on Earth. Laser ranging retro reflectors. Apollo missions left special mirrors on the moon that scientists worldwide still use to bounce lasers fired from Earth. And independent verifications. The Soviet Union, America's main competitor in the space race, closely monitored the missions and never disputed the success of the landings. So I feel like if it,
What if they're all in on it?
and it could
They're all in on
be.
it.
So here,
The world conspiracy.
let's dig into why this became a thing. The origins of the moon landing conspiracy go back to a book that was released titled "We Never Went to the Moon: America's $30 billion Swindle." It was a self-published book that was released in 1976 by Bill Casing, a former U.S. Navy officer with a bachelor's of arts in English.
That is right there. Navy officer.
Buddy of yours.
That's why.
Uh,
They're all liars.
It says here that despite having no knowledge of rockets or technical writing, Casing was hired as a senior technical writer in 1956 by Rocketdyne, the company that built the F1 engines used on the Saturn V rocket. He served as head of the technical publications unit all at the company's propulsion field laboratory until 1963. The many allegations in Casing's book effectively began discussion of faking of the moon landings. The book claims that the chance of a successful crewed landing on the moon was calculated to be 0.0017%, and that despite close monitoring by the USSR, it would have been easier for NASA to fake the moon landings than to really go there. Interesting. Now, following that up, in 1980, the Flat Earth Society accused NASA of faking the landings, arguing that they were staged by Hollywood with Walt Disney sponsorship based on a script by Arthur C. Clarke and directed by Stanley Kubrick. This is the one you were speaking on. Folklorist Linda D-E with a hyphen G-H, suggests that writer-director
She sounds lovely.
Peter Hyams' film Capricorn 1 in 1978, which shows a hoax journey to Mars in a spacecraft that looks identical to the Apollo craft, which might have given boost to the hoax theory's popularity in the post-Vietnam War era. Day sees a parallel with other attitudes during the post-Watergate era when the American public were inclined to distrust official accounts. Day writes, the mass media catapults these half-truths into a kind of twilight zone where people can make their guesses sound as truths. Mass media have a terrible impact on people who lack guidance. In A Man on the Moon, first published in 1994, Andrew Chaikin mentions that the time of Apollo 8's lunar orbit mission in December 1968, similar conspiracy ideas were already in circulation. Now, the claimed motives for why we would have faked this, one, of course, being the space race, right? Because it was around the Cold War, it was us and the Soviets to see who could get to the moon first. And I think there was a little bit of a theory that whoever could get to the moon and potentially study it, build a base on it, whatever, would have the upper hand and military wise during the war, right? It was kind of like the final frontier. Everybody wanted to get there first.
You bring up a good topic right there in the sense that you mentioned specifically the Watergate scandal, right? So if you look at this time in America, so specifically the landing was what, 69, 68, 69? If you look at all the, I'm going to say conspiracies, but all the events leading up to that were high profile. So like Kennedy was assassinated in the early 60s, right? You had Also in the early to mid 60s, the MK Ultra, the CIA psychedelic use of psychedelic
Yep.
drugs.
You had the Vietnam
That
War.
that's a true thing. That's a true thing,
Yeah.
right? You had the Vietnam War going on that people are already distrusting of. American people's already distrusting.
Watergate.
We're putting people out there. Watergate,
Yep.
Martin Luther King assassination, RFK's assassination. You had, again, Watergate was the early 70s, so
Yeah.
all of these things line up in a very, very specific order.
I think that was the beginning of the change from, well, if it's on the news, it must be true, or if the government said it, it must be true, to I don't trust
Wait
you
a
anymore.
minute.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
broke
wait
that
a
trust. I
minute.
don't believe anything you say anymore.
Correct. And all these things lining up really contribute to that broken trust. That's why I think.
Landing on.
What was the trust? What do you think? I'm gonna dive into that for a second.
What do you mean?
So how did the government break the trust, right? So when you look at it, because I think this is a very fascinating part of it. You know, obviously, well, JFK was shot. Oswald acted alone. I don't care who you are. I don't think he acted alone. No. I really don't.
I don't
but the
think
government
it was a
says
good
he
enough
did.
shot to pull it off.
You know what they told the people about the Vietnam War? Don't worry, guys. It's going according to plan. Was it?
It wasn't. You can actually argue that's the only war the U.S. has ever actually lost.
Correct.
We didn't,
and that's why
technically lose. It never really had a conclusion. But
what do they call it? They call it a conflict, don't they? To avoid the idea behind losing a war.
I don't know.
Or is that Korea?
I think that might be Korea, because everybody that I know calls it the Vietnam War, as far as like veterans and stuff.
And because of all that, we want the American people, not the world, the American people and the world too, to believe that all of those things. But we also took somebody and put them, 500,000 miles away and put them on the moon.
Yep.
Really? Did you though? That all those things that's all wild to me. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I love a good conspiracy. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can tangent on that all day long.
Yeah. No, I think for a long time, people thought that the people they voted for to get into the White House or Congress, the Senate, the House, whatever, they believed back then it was a different era than what we have today, right? You only had your news through the newspaper, the radio, and some television networks later on. So I think they believe that everybody they voted for, that won, that went there, were meant to be the best of us, right?
Yeah, until the guy says, I'm not a crook.
Yes.
And now we're left with a president who gets a Blumpkin in the bathroom. Or whatever happened to Clinton in the
that was in the Oval Office. I went in the bathroom. He was smoking cigars behind what's the desk what's the name for the desk in the White House in the Oval Office? What they call the Resolute desk?
I forgot. Yeah.
Resolute.
Anyway, yeah, no, we're the exact same that we were back then. Just people don't want to believe it.
I think it's like the Wizard of Oz, right? It was the man behind the curtain thing. It was behind the curtain. Look over here, look over here, don't look over here. And people were solely invested in what they showed us and not what was hiding behind the curtain.
And that's what I talked about a couple episodes ago. We talked about Jimothy, right? Or was it Jimothy? Is that his name? Jimothy?
Yeah. You think, is it being artificially pumped out just to be...
And punch?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to keep people
what
happy?
Else out there to drive us? Wait a minute. Look at this.
Yeah.
But you're really not
seeing what's behind the curtain. Toy over here.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, a true conspiracy is gonna tell you these things, but like what you're not seeing is this. Now we sound like Antifa.
Oh, no. We ain't that far yet.
Oh, that's funny.
Some of the photograph and film oddities. Apparently, you can see crosshairs in some of the photos. But they appear to be behind objects where they should technically be in front of them because of the photo. But they said it was a clear glass plate with a reticle. I almost said rectal. Reticle etched on. Making it impossible for any photographed objects to appear in front of the grid. But the argument is that they believe they were copy pasted basically over the photographs to make it look like something going on.
That's some good. Have you seen our CGI in movies from the 50s, 60s, and 70s?
69. Yeah.
The CGI was
Yeah,
terrible.
it was.
I've seen Godzilla.
Yeah, well, it wasn't CGI. It was all practical effects.
But even then, you're still
It
trying to
was
get it
like
together.
models and
That's
stuff
what I
for the
mean.
original
The effects are
Godzilla. Yeah.
terrible.
Now that's the thing, though, is that they
All that,
think they did a moon model in a Hollywood basement, kept it all hush hush with the Secret Service and CIA and everything else to make sure it never got out. And um,
all that to be better than the
the
Russians.
other claim is that the quality of the photographs was implausibly high. Again, for it being as old as it is, it should not have looked that good. My concern is, like, okay, so we talked about it earlier. The Netflix fight with Jake Paul. Everybody tried to watch it. Remember how bad it buffered and stuttered through the whole thing?
Yeah.
How did they live stream the moon landing on television sets back in the day? Because
They
people,
didn't live stream it, did
yes,
they?
they did. People watched it live on the news.
There's no
Yes,
way.
people were watching it live on the news when they did the moon landing.
No.
And that was the
There's no
other
way. I'm gonna fact
thought
check
was you saw Neil Armstrong coming out saying he's the first man to get on the moon, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, whatever. Who is recording? If he's the first one to step on the moon, who's recording?
So to be fair, what I believe is, so I had to look at the photo. I think specifically there was a camera on the. Didn't they replicated it, right? They came down, set things up, and then got a video, because there was two of them, right? There was Neil and then the other dude, right?
Buzz.
Buzz Aldrin, is that the second guy?
Buzz.
I think he was the second guy. I think he was the second one. So the first guy came down, and I think he set up something, and then they recreated that shot once the second guy come down. That's what I think, because you had a third guy still up in orbit. And specifically, I stand corrected. It definitely was live streamed.
How?
But it was it was still not Kazam. It was a signal that basically was shot from the moon to a receiving station on Earth to the NASA communications network to your basically television network to the TV. So there was definitely a delay because radio signals had to travel roughly, again, 240,000 miles. I said 300,000.
Okay, but we just read that they said that it was like a 0.0017 whatever percent chance of being able to land a spaceship on the moon with a crew.
Oh,
they also took the time to
done,
figure out how to do the satellite live streaming back in the day.
So no, it was done via, again, I talked about the receiving stations on Earth, NASA. It was done via like a radio something, and then it was converted. The signal was converted to a format compatible with television broadcasts.
So here's what I think. You want my opinion, because I asked you yours in the beginning whether or not it was real. I think yes, it was real. We went to the moon, but I think the video that we see was shot in a Hollywood basement. Because I don't think they could pull off with the tech. I mean, if you tried to use an iPhone camera when it's like -30 outside, when it's like stupid cold, your phone will glitch out and freeze up. This is technology from the 60s that we put in space, which is notoriously cold. Right? It ain't going to work. You're not going to get a 1969 Sony or Panasonic whatever camera to work in space. It's not going to happen. Not with the technology we had back then. You're researching something. I can see it. I think it's a hybrid.
So
I think we went.
I like your Hannah Montana best of both worlds. I love that theory. I do.
I am a Miley Cyrus fan.
I still stand by and now I'm reading about specifically how it was streamed. Again, it was a normal TV camera that sent out basically a radio signal to the lunar module to Earth with huge antennas. That signal was then converted to video for television format, and then sent out specifically. It was done at 10 frames per second at 320 lines of resolution in black and white. So basically, it was converted to 30 frames a second at 525 lines of resolution. That's so fascinating.
Here's what I've never been able to wrap my head around about the entire thing. So you know how, and you see it in Apollo 13 too, right? They take off in this giant rocket with all kinds of fuel to get out of gravity, right? I mean, and then they shed most of it and go down to the smaller ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're so researching right now.
That's so wild.
But
All
they
right, go
go
ahead.
up in the giant rocket and then they drop
Yep, that's what
the
happens.
thrusters, whatever, and all the extra stuff that they don't need anymore once they get out
Mm-hmm.
of gravity, right?
Now they're floating
And
through
then they end
space
up in this
with a
little
trajectory.
cone-like shape that then comes down and lands on the moon. It took all that rocket, all that fuel to get there. How the hell are they getting off the moon and back into Earth's orbit without
Well, that's
that
easy.
rocket?
That's easy. So
Without just floating
because
off into
there's
the void of space?
yeah. So again, you just had so it's so the interesting thing about this is, I is it water? Does water act the same way? If you throw something on Earth, and water's a bad example actually. Um, Obviously, eventually the trajectory of the projectile that you throw, it's going to come and arc down towards the Earth, right? Because of gravity, which is why you needed these giant thrusters to get out of Earth's gravitational pull,
But you have to
right?
get close
Once you
enough
get past
to
the
Earth to
atmosphere,
get back into the gravitational pull.
and they can do, because once you're in space, it doesn't take, you can move around. And from what I understand, again, I'm not an astronaut, but I've seen enough astronaut movies to feel like, or I've seen Armageddon enough to feel like I'm pretty much a certified astronaut at this point. Um, it doesn't take much to move, and you kind of stay in that line. And as long as you get your trajectory right, you don't have to get too far out there before Earth's going to go, "Hey, brother, I got you," and they're going to bring you
You
back
just got
in.
to get
So
close
you don't need a
enough
lot
to
of
get away from them. You just got to have enough propulsion to get off the moon, to get back into the floating void of space and be
correct.
pointed the
That's what
right
I think.
direction when you get there.
Correct, and they don't need a whole lot. So their little triangle pod or whatever you called it,
Mm-hmm.
I think needs a little bit of to get out of the moon area because there's nothing out there. Once it does and it stays towards Earth, it seems that, and it's all math, right? It's all the physics of it is done so that they know exactly where they need to go. So it looks like they're going to overshoot Earth, but they're really going to kind of arc around and eventually come into Earth's gravitational and then be pulled into, wherever they landed at. That's what I think. And it's all math. I love math.
Yeah, it's a lot of math. I've seen shit. What was the movie?
Hidden figures.
Thank you. So good.
Hidden figures.
Such a good
And
movie.
that's why I believe a lot of what we did. That's why I believe we did this, because the math proves that we can do it.
Yep.
So, but that to answer your question, that's how they did it with such little thrusters off of the moon back to Earth. You just had to get kind of close, coming towards us, but trying to get away from Earth, you need a lot more push.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just wild to me how much it takes to get off of Earth and then how little it takes to get back on. As far as the thrusters, the fuel, and the rocket engines and all that, it's just absolutely mesmerizing.
I'm a science nerd. This is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I thought you would really enjoy this topic. I was thinking of you when I made these topics. You're welcome. Say thank you.
Appreciate that. That's what a good partner does.
What a good partner does. What else we got? What are some of the other things that might? I just want.
I want to know more about this potential Stanley Kubrick film that they done. I've heard that as well, but I've never really delved into it too much, so I don't know a whole lot about the basics of it. And
Yeah. I don't know why he was the one picked. I get maybe he was just the most popular director at the time.
oh,
Yeah, that is the most popular theory. Is that Apollo 11 was
be,
him?
because 2001: A Space Odyssey came out a year before we landed on the moon in '68.
And that was his movie.
That was his movie, and it had the same effects talking about, space and all this good stuff, right? So the lunar base, the space stations, the phone calls back to Earth, artificial gravity, yada yada yada.
So again, the biggest reasons are shadows in the moon landing photos prove the images were faked. If you take a look at the image below, and at the full panorama of the NASA on the NASA website, look closely at the shadows cast by astronaut Neil Armstrong and other objects just out of shot. What's wrong with them? I don't know what's wrong with them. They're not parallel. Oh. The image has been taken as proof by conspiracy theorists for the moon landings being fake. Surely, if the sun were the only light source, then the multiple shadows would be parallel. Doesn't this prove that the whole scene was mocked up in a studio with multiple light sources creating different shadow patterns? Now, that's interesting. Now, the answer to this is no. This is on the surface of on the moon, but we can reproduce this effect at any time we want on Earth. You have all seen this phenomenon yourself, where because of perspective, parallel lines appear to be non-parallel. If you're trying to reduce onto a two-dimensional or plane, a three-dimensional situation, you can make lines, do all sorts of weird things. Artists have been using this for centuries. Okay, that yeah, mm, I don't like that. So you got Armstrong's shadow looks like this, almost straight up and down, where it looks like he's the one holding the camera, taking the picture. But then the shadow
Mm-hmm.
coming from the side of the actual lunar equipment with the antenna is angled towards him. Like the shadow, if it kept going, would eventually go into his head. So if he's taking the picture and the sun is behind them, why is now they're saying because of the panorama effect of the picture he took, but that to me doesn't necessarily look like a panoramic photo. Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it is. The other theory is Apollo astronauts could not have survived Earth's radiation field. Earth is surrounded by a zone of charged particles known as the Van Allen radiation belt. Oh. The answer to this is called firewalking. If you've ever done firewalking, you know the one thing you don't do is linger around in the middle of the fire pit. You know, when they walk on hot coals?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
said
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't stop in the middle of the fire pit, you keep walking, right? You cross as quickly as you can. From a science point of view, as long as you walk across quite quickly, looking at the thermal conductivity of your feet, you are not going to have enough thermal energy going into the soles of your feet to burn you. You're absolutely fine. Just don't hang around in the middle. So her thought is, or her answer to that is because there's that radiation belt. That's why you blast through so fast in a rocket, so that you don't
Mm-hmm.
just sit there and get cooked like you're getting an X-ray.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough. But I know you've also seen, I'm sure you've seen it too, all the different heat shields and all the
Oh
different
yeah.
shieldings they put on the spaceship. I mean, they spent years and billions figuring out what material to use for the space shuttle for reentry.
I mean, even engine. Look at engines being built, like engines for your
Yeah.
cars or for your trucks, right? Even engines have a heat
Yep.
shield. So I mean, it's just the same thing. It's much a bigger, larger
Yeah, I
scale.
mean the generators, the diesel generators I built at Cummins, we had to put heat shields over all the exhaust parts because you didn't want the exhaust heat getting to the intercooler piping or the turbo
Yep.
piping, right? Because you want cold air coming through that, not hot air. So we used all kinds of thick heat shielding that was held on. It wasn't bolted in place; it was held on with like springs so that it could vibrate with the engine and not wiggle loose a bolt. It was a tension spring that would let it vibrate without, ideally, without falling off. And I think
And again,
it's
all that
similar to
is a
what
much
they ended
smaller
up using
scale.
there, correct? Didn't they end up using an extra spring setup on top of the bolts to try to help hold it together? Thought I saw that in one of the movies.
Brother,
I don't know.
I don't
Firewalking though,
recall.
that's a
I mean,
hell of
I'm
an answer.
sure.
No stars in the picture. We already talked about that. I'm skipping that. Flag waving in the wind.
Hmm.
if we really went to the moon in 69, why have we never went back? This is my argument. Why have we never gone back? And this is why I like the movie, what was it, Apollo 18? The horror movie? Apollo 18, 19, whatever it was.
Oh,
where they went
yeah, the horror
where they
one.
went back to the moon, and it turned out that the space rocks were actually some spider-like creature, kind of Starship Troopers-esque, but cool twist. And that was always something I wondered was, did we go to the moon and find something there that we don't want to go back and see again? Or did we go to the moon, realize there's absolutely no value in being there, and decided never to come back? Because they brought back the rocks to study.
You don't know my theory? Here's my theory, and it's going to be very crude, and the rabbits, please don't hate me on this. Could you imagine being an awkward kid, or maybe even a popular kid for that matter, and you're chasing after something, right? You're chasing after. Once you finally, so we talked about so here's an example. We talked about playing Minecraft.
Sure.
Okay, you play on survival, and you have all these things built up to do it, and then you're like, wait a minute. Let me just switch it to creative mode for a second. Yeah. And now I have everything at my fingertips, everything that I need. Do you really need to beat the game now?
No.
It's done. Yeah, you're done. And you're bored.
I think you're right. I think that's part of it. But I also think that they brought back all these moon rocks to study, to see what's really up there. Because remember, there used to be the theory the moon was made out of cheese. Remember, that was a thing people used to say back in the day.
Yeah.
I think they brought back the rocks. They analyzed the rocks. They found no value in the rocks that would have dollar amounts attached to it to be resold in the public, other than just saying, hey, I found a moon rock. So I think that is part of the reason why we never went back. I think it costs more money to get there than anything up there is worth when we bring it back to sell it. Because people being people, going back to my Greenpeace episode in what episode was it? CERN, where I went off on CERN about pollution and everything else and big oil and all that. If there was something on that moon that was valuable enough to be worth the money we spent to go up there, we as a species would have already picked it dry to the point the moon was probably no longer existent.
And there's where I'm gonna disagree just a slight hair. I think that initially back in the late 60s and early 70s, it was America wanted to get there first. We wanted to lay stake to that and claim to that for whatever reason. Now we've done it, and other maybe nobody else has, or Russia has technically. I don't know who else has landed on the moon. But now that we've done that, we can prove that we can get there. And then you're looking at the slow evolution of science to understand what we've found since then. Maybe it's alien life, maybe it's not. Which is why I don't think we went back yet. I think we go back eventually, but it's less who can be the first person on the moon. It's who can be the first person to stay on the moon. But we've also we've shifted gears kind of in the last 20 years, and it's not just the moon anymore. Now let's
Mars.
Look at space in general. Yeah, let's look at space in general.
Yeah, Elon Musk wants to try to colonize Mars in the next 10 years.
So that's what I think our focus has been. Now that we're there, it's just taken years to finally understand some of the data that came back from it. And now we're shifting gears, or maybe they already have shifted gears. I don't know how long it takes to plan a moonwalk, but I bet it's not a couple hours or a couple days. I bet it's several years to plan it and get it where it needs to be. That's what I think.
Oh goodness, sorry.
Yes.
Back to your original question. It looks like 5 countries total have landed on the moon. But it looks like we are the only one that actually landed a crewed mission, from what I can tell.
Define crewed mission. What do you mean?
A crew.
Oh, crewed.
Because they call it crewed versus uncrewed. So the Soviets landed there first with an uncrewed soft landing with Luna 9 and 66. There was nobody on it. They just landed a spacecraft up there, or a spaceship, rocket, whatever. Then we landed actual people in 1969. Since then, China landed a probe in 2013. India landed Chandrayaan-3 near the lunar South Pole in 2023, and Japan landed the SLIM spacecraft using precise landing technology in 2024.
The fascinating thing about all those is if you put all of those together, we're doing what humankind want to do. America has put somebody there. Japan has done it on a precise
Yeah.
pinpoint, whatever with the math, right? And they've all got a role to play. That's what I think. There's a much larger picture going on.
Yes.
That's what I
I
think.
agree. But I am going to stand on my argument of, so how much money did it cost? How much?
Oh gosh, expensive,
Oh
ain't it?
yeah, money.
It's another reason why we've
did
not
it
went back.
cost
We're out.
to land Apollo 11. Sorry, I'm a type talker.
We've diverted all that space fund to try to build a wall. That's why.
Well, maybe. Priorities. So in 1969, it cost $355 million, which equals to $2.9 billion in today's money. So almost $3 billion in today's money with inflation that it cost to put somebody on the moon. So I'm saying right now that there is not $3 billion worth of resources on the moon for us to bring back. Because if we would have went to the moon and found oil, we would be up there right now on space stations.
Have we tried?
We brought back rocks.
Have we sent drillers up
to
there
study to see if there was anything there? But you got to remember, oil that we use here is from dead dinosaurs.
And maybe it's not just oil. Maybe there's other minerals up there.
Right,
Again,
that's what I'm saying. Like the whole the Avatar thing, right? The unobtainium or whatever the hell is the stupidest name. Unobtainium, I think is what they called it in Avatar on Pandora. The first Avatar, the whole thing was about. We sent people all the way up there just to go get a rock because it was worth $1 billion a pound or whatever back in the Earth.
Yep.
I kept wanting to say the USA. I meant Earth because it was a whole planet, not just one country. But that's what I'm saying is, had we have found oil or some sort of resource up there that somebody could turn a profit on, big oil or big tobacco or somebody would have been funding these missions to get people up there to bring this stuff back.
And so, and I think it starts with, so yeah, I just Googled it specifically looking where's carbon at? So carbon is the basis for a lot of things, right?
Basis for life, isn't
it? For life as well, but among other things.
I'm smart.
But specifically asked, did they find carbon on the moon? And they did, right? But doesn't mean that it has Earth-like it doesn't have an Earth-like carbon cycle. So that's the difference. Right. But they brought back 842 pounds of lunar rocks and detected carbon and carbon-containing compounds. So there could have been other things there. There could be other things there as I'm reading this. There could be other samples there because there is so things are carbon-based. There are carbon things there. Yeah. So we don't have some weird sample of unobtainium or whatever, adamantium or whatever weird element that doesn't exist. We're just making up now.
Because
there's clearly things we don't know.
Right, but you will not convince me that with the rocks they brought back, the study they did on it, they did not find anything up there. I'm not saying they didn't find anything of value. I'm saying it isn't valuable enough to warrant $3 billion per trip up there. Because you can sell a genuine moon rock from the lunar landing for millions of dollars at an auction. Some billionaire will pay millions of dollars to say, I got a space rock. But that's not going to pay for a $3 billion trip.
No, I mean, you got to get it, right? So reading about it, obviously there are rare earth elements on the moon. There's titanium up there, aluminum and iron. Helium-3 is another one.
But if you break it all apart, is it worth more than saying this is a moon rock? Which one sells more?
I mean, that's a different story.
If I say this is titanium from the moon, somebody's going to say it's the exact same as titanium from the Earth. But if I say this is a rock brought back by Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin from 1969's moon landing, people are going to pay more for that than they are just for the same thing they could buy from here on Earth.
And that's the difference, and I think in a lot of the way people look at things, right? Because that becomes a more nostalgia factor versus an economical or a a value that can turn a profit, right? So, how do we sustain a nation?
Yeah.
You don't do it off of one moon rock. You do it off of these rich elements or these rich things that are there, and eventually the Earth's going to deplete itself, or
Oh,
maybe, I
we're going to
guess, I don't
deplete
know,
it.
maybe
It's
not in
not
my
going to deplete
lifetime.
itself.
But yeah, and where do you turn to,
Yeah.
right? And you look at a movie like Interstellar. You look at these other
Interstellar,
things where you want
Ella,
to
Ella,
Interstellar,
hey, hey, hey.
a little Rihanna action there. You want to try to turn to these other places so you can get these
Yeah.
elements so we can sustain and survive, right? Otherwise, you're going to end up like, and I'm very movie based. Otherwise, you're going to end up like Wally,
Oh,
and that's where we're going to be at until we
I
find
can't.
someplace we can
We're already
go.
55 minutes into this episode. I can't. Don't start with me on Wally. One of these seasons, we're gonna do a wheel of just movies that you and I think we could actually end up in and why, and that's what our topics are gonna be.
Okay,
I'd be
I'll go with
down with
that.
that. Wally, Interstellar, Ella, Ready Player One, Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report, all movies. iRobot, all movies we could talk about. iRobot, especially now with all the AI. Terminator 2.
Oh yeah, Skynet.
Yep.
I mean, but all to say, back to your
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
elements, and the moon landing.
Funnel back out of this
We
rabbit
got to
hole.
start someplace. Before we get to any of those, it starts with the moon landing and did it happen or not, right? And if it didn't happen, then I don't think we have to worry about all those things coming true.
Yeah.
I think we're more worried about the technology and AI, basically rerouting itself and recognizing things, and I think that just happened here recently. I thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a whole other topic of
And now we
discussion,
got
technically.
Chinese fighting robots.
Yeah, which was another movie, right?
Real Steel, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
They got Chinese fighting robots. I think you can order them on wish.com. They might be here in 3 to 6 months.
and if you put a weird
Timu.
latex skin around it, now you got a sex doll.
Didn't they already make those? And there was the consensus on it was that it looked a lot like Scarlett Johansson, like they modeled it after her to look like her.
I think some of them did,
Yeah.
yes, or her voice or something like that. And they didn't like
I
that.
think it
She
was her
sued or something.
likeness, her face. Like they made it look like her.
I don't think that's is that the sex doll or is that just the AI doll? I
I
think
would
that's the
say it's
AI
probably both, my
likeness.
man. If
It
somebody's
could
buying a
be.
Scarlett Johansson doll, I don't think it matters what the original intended purpose was. I think I know exactly what they're using it for. And it ain't to reenact Infinity War.
No, you're probably not.
Oh God. All right, I think that's so final consensus. Do you think we landed on the moon?
I think science supports that we did, and I believe
I
science.
also think we landed on the moon, but I think the recording that we see was a reshoot in Hollywood. I do not think that that is a live recording because I just don't think we had the technology to support it back then. I think the pictures are real. I think the landing was real, but I think the actual video recording of him coming down, I think that was all pre-recorded before he went. That's my theory.
This is where you cue the best of both worlds montage.
That's a lot of editing work.
It's where you cue that guy. You cue that song.
Yeah. All right. I think that's going to do it for this discussion. Unless you got any final words of wisdom or points you want to make. I think I've said all I need to
Oh
say.
no. I think I'm gonna start calling you Giorgio Tuscaloosis, whatever that dude's name is. The crazy alien guy. It's aliens.
Oh.
The hair.
Oh yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. The
as
guy
best of both
from
worlds,
was it
please.
History Channel that was on the
Yeah.
Who Built the Pyramids or whatever, the ancient
Yeah.
something, ancient mysteries, ancient
No, I don't
something.
have anything to add that's worthwhile or adds value other than calling you that guy because I think you're crazy on your theory. But it sounds very solid. Um, that's the main thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. We'll agree to somewhat agree on this one.
That's
I
fair.
mean, we both agree that we landed there. I cannot get behind with the the technology we had in '69 that we were able to record and stream from space, considering that we can't even pull off a Netflix fight in 2025.
Did you hear so how they did that specifically? What I was reading, they erected giant radio towers around the world, and specifically, the tower in Australia was a certain height because it needed to be based off of where they were in relation to the moon's distance. The one in wherever was a specific height based off of the distance from the moon and us, and I believe it was the tower in Australia that picked up the signal.
Brother, it's 2026 and I can't even get cell phone service with AT&T in Walesboro. So I'm not buying for a second that we erected giant towers all over the world to try to catch a satellite signal from a 1969 Sony camera. If Sony was even a thing, what camera did they use? Hold on.
And that's where the conspiracy you Google, but that's where the conspiracy takes a turn, right? Obviously, you can't get your Wi-Fi signal on your phone right now because the government says you can't do that.
A silver Hasselblad data camera for surface stills, a black Hasselblad electric camera for interior shots, and a Westinghouse black and white TV camera for the live product. A Westinghouse, Tony, you think a Westinghouse in 1969 got it all the way back to Earth? Ain't no way.
It's top of the line. It's top of the line.
Westinghouse, my man? Isn't that the cheap brand now at like Target?
Now? 1969, man, that was the Cadillac.
Oh, they also had a Kodak.
Brother, cutting edge right there.
Used to take close-ups. Nah, I don't think any of these cameras are pulling it off. I think
again, keep it.
Go ahead.
So keep in mind, this is they're taking this streaming, and it's not done in the fashion that you and I know of today. It's not done in the same fashion. So that's the only caveat I got to tell you. I can't explain the science behind it because I don't know how the tech works.
Mm-hmm.
But those cameras aren't taking your digital stills and your digital recordings like you and I know today. Mm-hmm. They're done in a different format, and that format I think supports the theory that this actually happened.
But it would have also been writing straight to film. They didn't have a digital recording to be able to get that signal out.
No, it wasn't. They converted the transmission to digital on Earth.
We didn't have digital.
They converted it to video form, or whatever. I'm using the wrong term. However they used it, whatever they did, the signal was broadcast out, and we picked it up, and it was converted on Earth. I specifically read that piece, but again, I read it on the internet, so it's got to be true.
Right. I don't know. I can't get behind the lack of tech to be able to pull it off, and the fact that we haven't really done much of it since then is also a little unsettling. But anyways,
I don't know.
I'm going to call this one here. This has been a great episode 5. Yes, 5.
5. Yeah.
If you haven't already, please subscribe. Over 50% of you are not subscribed that are out there listening, and it's really getting on my nerves, and I'm really going to have to start driving to people's houses and knocking on doors to correct this issue. Me and Tonio are just going to show up at your door in suits, tuxedos.
That's what's going to happen, like Men in Black.
Yes. If you haven't already, please be sure to like the video. It really helps with the algorithm. Drop a comment below because it helps grow the channel. Share with your buddies, your friends, your neighbors, your friend of yours, not a friend of yours, somebody you hate. I don't care. Just get it out there. I appreciate you. Those of you that have subscribed, have liked, have watched a bunch of the content, we do appreciate you immensely. Be sure to also check us out on Spotify, on the Facebook. Make sure you add us to your MySpace top 8.
I miss MySpace.
Yeah, ask Jeeves about us. Don't Google us. Ask Jeeves about us. I think that'll pretty much do it. And you got anything else? I heard a hum.
No, I'm just nostalgia based off of MySpace and Ask Jeeves.
Yeah.
I appreciate
That'd
that.
be another topic of discussion. What happened to MySpace Tom? You always had Tom. You always had your back. When I had no friends, I had MySpace Tom.
It's fair.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Sit at home. See you, rabbits.